September 6, 2023. Heavy breathing fills the cold air of the warehouse as Lee Hyena lies bound on the floor, her school uniform stained with dirt. This marks the first day of her torment. Above her, the atmosphere turns frantic. One of her captors curses, realizing the gravity of their situation. After beating the girl, they discover she is the daughter of a chaebol. Panic sets in as the leader in the red tracksuit demands to know if Moon Yejin verified this information properly. Moon Yejin snaps back, telling her to check her own phone and insisting she has explained the situation multiple times already. Moon Yejin confirms that Lee Hyena is the only daughter of Lee Myungjun, the vice chairman of Hyundai Group. The leader in the red tracksuit is stunned, arguing that if the girl was from such a family, she should have acted like it instead of pretending to be a poor commoner. Hyena whimpers from the floor, stating she only wanted to make friends like everyone else. The girl with the hair roller begins to shake, fearing they are all dead. The hooded girl tries to distance herself, claiming she did nothing and shouldn't get in trouble for their mistakes. The leader snarls at her to shut up, reminding her being a bystander makes her just as guilty. The leader grabs the hooded girl, asking where she thinks she is going while trying to save her own skin. She warns that if the chaebol girl retaliates, no one will be left alone. Hyena tries to intervene, promising she never planned to retaliate and wanted to resolve things through conversation. She explains that because she lives alone, her father won't find out about the beating, especially since she isn't seriously hurt. She begs them to untie her so they can sort it out. The girl with the hair roller thinks they should let her go, but Moon Yejin calls her a dumbass, questioning how she can take Hyena's word at face value before she backstabs them. Moon Yejin continues her argument, stating that even if Hyena is sincere, her father might not be. She points out that a chaebol child likely has bodyguards stationed nearby, making it only a matter of time before their actions come to light. The moment the father finds out, they are finished. The leader in the red tracksuit screams, asking what they are supposed to do since they cannot keep her locked up forever. She calls Moon Yejin a countryside bumpkin, triggering a heated argument where they nearly come to blows. The girl with the hair roller tries to calm them down, but the leader realizes the situation is becoming dire. The leader demands to know where Cha So-hyun is, as she was the one who told them to gather. She rages about the person who started this mess being nowhere to be found. Suddenly, the heavy warehouse door slides open with a loud bang. Cha So-hyun stands in the doorway, bathed in a purple light. She mocks the group, asking why they are getting so worked up like a bunch of weaklings. Cha Se-hyun walks toward them, her footsteps heavy on the concrete. She calls them cowardly and suggests that if their new toy is a third-generation heiress, they will save a lot of money. Moon Yejin demands to know where she has been. Se-hyun casually claims she went home to grab something. When Moon Yejin argues that she never said that, Se-hyun brushes it off, telling her to stop nitpicking over nothing. She then turns her attention to Hyena, calling her a dear little cutie. Se-hyun stares down at Hyena, acknowledging her status as a chaebol daughter, before asking, "So what?" A sharp sound echoes as Se-hyun kicks Hyena hard in the chest. She laughs, revealing that her own father is the next presidential candidate. She calls Hyena a puny worm and explains that not all chaebols are equal. She mocks Hyundai Group, claiming it is from an old era and barely maintains 30% of its market cap, hardly making it a real chaebol at all. Moon Yejin tries to argue that a chaebol is still a chaebol, regardless of the ruling party leader's status. So-hyun calls her a smartass and asks if she even watches the news. She reveals that all the powerful men they sent to jail were actually subordinates to her own father. She mentions that just a few days ago, Hyena's grandfather was at her father's office making a scene. The other bullies begin to laugh, realizing Hyena is a nobody compared to So-hyun. So-hyun mocks them for being scared of someone like this, asking if they are ashamed of themselves. Hyena shouts that So-hyun should be the one who is ashamed. She argues that if So-hyun's father is such a respectable man, she should be careful not to bring shame upon him by bullying the weak. So-hyun smiles, calling Hyena a filial daughter from an ancient folktale. She leans in close, telling Hyena she is mistaken about one thing. Her father is not her backup. So-hyun declares that her father is actually a pawn. Hyena is stunned by the blasphemy. So-hyun asks if the truth is too much for a filial daughter to handle and offers to make her understand. She reaches into her clothes and pulls out a black USB drive. She holds it up to Hyena's face, asking her to guess what it is. When Hyena guesses it is just a USB, So-hyun tells her she is wrong. So-hyun explains that the USB represents her father's life. She recounts meeting Bae-doa's cousin a year ago, a hacker who sold her a rootkit. This software allowed her to access systems without permission while remaining hidden. She planted planted it in her father's laptop for 6 months. As a result, she uncovered mnemonic phrases and successfully stole 23 billion won in political slush funds kept in cryptocurrency. Most importantly, she secured all of her father's dirty secrets. So-hun claims that once she releases the data, her father's political career and his life as a human being will be over. She asks if Hyena is impressed. Hyena, trembling, asks what she is trying to say. So-hun leans in, her face shadowed and menacing, stating that her father would kill someone if she ordered him to. If he refused, he would be destroyed by her hand. Hyena stares in shock, asking if So-hun thinks she would be intimidated by such an absurd story. So-hun remains silent as she reaches into her pocket. She pulls out a physical photograph and drops it onto the floor in front of Hyena. Hyena looks down at the photo and immediately begins to gag. She retches violently, bile hitting the floor as she vomits. So-hun mocks her weak stomach, noting that she is throwing up just from seeing photos of corpses with blown-out brains. Hyena continues to heave, her eyes wide with terror. So-hyun points to the photo, identifying the man as Jong Tae-il, the chairman of Capel Retail Group. He supposedly died 5 months ago from a fall while hiking. So-hyun questions if it was really an accident. She explains that mountains are the easiest places to commit murder in South Korea because one can bribe the trail patrol to observe blind spots in the CCTV. She describes how a quick push in a blind spot finishes the job.
The dark silhouette with glowing pink eyes looms over the scene, bringing up the fall accident and declaring the mission accomplished. Killing the chairman of Capel Retail served no grand purpose. It was a simple test to see how far her father would go for her. It turns out that ordering him to eliminate a chaebol head was surprisingly easy. She turns her attention to Lee Hyena, questioning why she transferred to this school. She suspects Hyena's father sent her to monitor the bullying and destroy her own father's reputation. Trembling with fear, Lee Hyena denies the accusation, insisting she only chose the school for its art program and practical test preparation. The girl in the shadows dismisses the explanation as a lie, sighing that things aren't going to work out. She decides the only solution is to kill Hyena's father. Mocking her as a filial daughter like Sim Chong, she asks how she should dispose of the man she calls Sim Bangsa, the blind father from the stories. She notes that every morning at 7, the man replaces his breakfast with a specific grain powder drink. She suggests mixing laundry detergent into the powder. Grabbing Hyena's collar, she lifts the girl who gasps for air. The shadow mentions the father's private gym in Jamsil, a 400 square meter space dedicated to his love of powerlifting. She proposes loosening the screws on the barbell rack, so the heavy weights crush him to death. Hyena sobs, pleading for her to stop, but the girl continues, her hand moving with a sharp click. Her thoughts turn darker as she considers hiring hitmen from Yanbian through the deep web for 4 Bitcoin. She imagines them chopping the man up like blood sausage. Hyena can only manage choked gasps as the pressure on her neck increases. Finally, the girl announces she has made her decision. She yanks hard on Hyena's tie, the fabric straining against the girl's throat as she pulls her victim close. Hyena screams as she is hoisted upward, her feet dangling off the ground. The girl describes a perfect scenario. Hyundai Group's vice chairman Lee Myung-jun, unable to handle the pressure of a legislative audit, chooses a tragic double suicide with his 15-year-old daughter. She asks Hyena if that fits the situation perfectly. She suggests they go with that plan, ignoring Hyena's desperate cries that she doesn't want this to happen. The girl snarls, calling Hyena a bitch and screaming that she is offering a chance to reunite with her dead mother. Maniacal laughter fills the air as other students watch the torment. Hyena breaks down completely, sobbing that it is all her fault. She promises never to defy the girl again if her father is spared. The shadow goes silent, her hand finally loosening its grip on the girl's throat. Hyena hits the floor with a heavy thud, coughing and gasping for breath. The girl stands over her, declaring that from this day forward, Hyena is nothing more than her plaything and toy. She warns that defiance is no longer an option. If Hyena resists even once, her father will die. The threat hangs heavy as the girl looks down at her new possession, her eyes glowing with a predatory light. In a starkly different setting, Lee Myung-jun sits before a national audit, his hands clenched. He blames himself for not investigating the school Hyena wanted to transfer to, realizing he was too distracted by his work. He feels he has thrown his only daughter into a devil's lair. He silently apologizes to her, knowing she is suffering in hell to save his useless life. However, his expression hardens as he decides it is finally their turn to suffer. The silhouettes of the tormentors loom large, but the man's resolve is set. He views them as devils who will never find salvation.
This channel is just getting started, and every bit of support means a lot. If you want to support future uploads, you can use the QR code shown on screen. Thank you for helping this channel grow from the beginning. See you in the next video.